And we're back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our second segment, which is going to be talking about a pair of pitcher trades here, Yusei Kikuchi and Trevor Rogers. But before we do that, I would like to ask you again to please like and follow the show. We do get a number of questions from viewers, to ensure that your question does get read in the air. Use the link at gsmcpodcast.net. It really does help the show, and it really does mean a lot, so thank you so much for that. And let's get back into the show today. Alright, so I said I was going to be updating news as it goes on. We did not get a trade over the break, I believe. But we did end up getting some other pitcher news that is not related to the deadline. Garrett Cole has been scratched from his start today for general body fatigue, which is not good whatsoever for this Yankees team. He's already dealt with injuries, of course. He was out for the full first half with an arm injury. So it's good that it is an arm. It's good that it's not an arm injury, but still having him out for an injury at all is bad. We'll see if that affects their trade deadline plans at all. See if it makes them, see if it gives them more of a reason to acquire a starting pitcher. Of course, there's been a lot of rumors circulating that they want Jack Flaherty. Bob Nightingale said yesterday he thought they were close on Jack Flaherty. Obviously, that did not end up being the case, as he still has not been traded, and we're almost 2 hours here now to the deadline. So we'll be interested to see what happens with the Yankees. But now moving into their AL East compadre, the Toronto Blue Jays, I want to go over a trade they made and just go over the trade deadline and prices for him. So yesterday we had Yusei Kikuchi being traded from the Toronto Blue Jays to the Houston Astros. Pretty reasonable trade, something I think a lot of people expected. Blue Jays were selling off Kikuchi on a one-year deal. Astros needed some starting pitching. Pretty easy match. So, made a lot of sense. Now, what didn't make a lot of sense was the return that the Blue Jays got for Kikuchi. I was absolutely shocked when I saw this deal. I did not think I was reading it right. And yeah, I don't know what to say about it, so I'm going to go with it. So, for 1 year of for 2 months of Yusei Kikuchi, who has an ERA of almost 5, who in his past has been a very good pitcher. I want to get that clear. They could view the season as a outlier, and that he'll be much better in the second half. I would not disagree with that. I think that's a fair assumption. But for 2 months or so of Yusei Kikuchi, who has not done great this year, they gave up Jake Bloss, Joey Loperfido, and Will Wagner. That, to me, is an insane package to give up. Ludicrous. I can't even imagine why they would do that. I understand you need a starting pitcher if you're the Astros. I completely understand that. But giving up Jake Bloss, a guy who has done really well filling in for your rotation this year, who immediately slots in as the Blue Jays, as a top 3 prospect in the Blue Jays organization. Joey Loperfido, who has been the Astros starting first baseman for most of the year after Jose Abreu was cut and has done really well there, who's young and has a lot of power potential. And then Will Wagner, a guy who could come up next year and become a starting piece of the Blue Jays team, who slots in around the top 20 prospect for this Jays team. Makes zero sense. You want to trade that for maybe someone like Eric Fetty, who has a year of control, has done really well and is cheap. That's okay. I think it would still be a lot, but that's all right. Trading it for Yusei Kikuchi, who has an ERA of near 5, and again is only on a 1 year deal, is absolutely insane to me. So that was really crazy, and I just don't understand. I'm going to go to Trevor Rogers as well, but we just had 2 trades I wanted to talk about. Texas Rangers are acquiring Andrew Chafin from the Tigers. Really good move there for the Rangers, getting a solid lefty reliever in their pen. And the Royals are acquiring Paul DeJong from the White Sox. Good infield depth there. I think second base has been really a problem all year, trying to get a solid piece, and DeJong has had a really solid season with the division rival White Sox. So just 2 quick trades I wanted to talk about here that I saw on my phone pop up quickly, of course, and having that very handy with the deadline, of course, approaching. So the Kikuchi trade was obviously crazy, and the return was absolutely bonkers, and I was shocked. So we had heard the whole time that starting pitcher market was insane. Teams were going to ask for a lot. And we saw that with Kikuchi. Then it got even crazier today. The Orioles traded Trevor Rogers. The Marlins traded Trevor Rogers to the Orioles. Again, fine trade on paper. Marlins were shopping Trevor Rogers, a good control with starting pitcher, who they were selling, of course, because they are selling. Orioles needed a good pitcher. Trevor Rogers comes to control as well. Really nice addition for next year as well. Solid. Then you see the package. They're getting back Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby. That's a lot. Connor Norby is a fringe top 100 prospect who slots in immediately now as the starting second baseman or third baseman for this Marlins team for the significant future. I mean, the guy has 5+ years of control. And then you're also getting Kyle Stowers, who is a very solid outfield prospect who has also been a part of this Orioles team. Now, I want to make it clear that this isn't a horrific trade. Both Norby and Stowers were blocked, and it made a lot of sense for them to move on from them. But trading it for Trevor Rogers, a guy who's been nothing more than a back-end starter in his career since his rookie year, is kind of weird and kind of crazy. I understand that you may think Rogers still has a lot of potential left in his arm. You think that you could revamp his pitches, maybe make him a better player. But I feel like there were so many other options that the Orioles could have traded these guys for that they would have gotten a lot better. I mean, you could have traded that for Eric Fetty. I think they would have. I think the White Sox easily would have taken that. They would have been absolutely thrilled and ran to the phone. So the starting pitcher market is absolutely insane right now, and I think that's the reason why a lot of these teams that were expecting to trade for a starting pitcher have not. I mean, I've seen it with the Mets. The Mets desperately need a starting pitcher right now. I want to make that clear. Kodai Senga's out for the year. Christian Scott's going to be out for probably most of the year, if not all of it. And you need a starting pitcher. You don't want to have Tyler McGill be your 5-starter for the rest of the year. So they've, looked at some players. They've looked at Eric Fetty, Jack Flaherty. They looked to Kikuchi. They looked to Trevor Rogers. But the market has been so insane, they probably aren't going to acquire a starter now. And because of that, they probably have to move one of their best bullpen pieces, Jose Butto, back to the rotation. So this insane market right now, which the Orioles and Astros had to give into, is affecting a lot of other teams right now for their trade targets. So it's going to be really interesting to watch what teams don't trade for a starting pitcher because they don't want to give up an insane price for a good starting pitcher, but not a great one. And, they don't think it's worth it. Also, I want to mention something quickly about the Young trade, then I'll go back to my segment here. I did not realize the White Sox are actually playing the Royals right now, so he just is switching dugouts, which is pretty funny. I think the last time that happened was Christian Vasquez with the Astros and the Red Sox, so that's pretty nice. But, yeah, so nice little thing there, which would be interesting. We'll see how closely the Young can get in there to play, but again, really solid move by the Royals there. Now, I want to make it clear that even though these returns I think were absolutely insane, and I don't think either team did well in trading it. I mean, Miami did great. Toronto did in absolutely outstanding. I think both of these are really good moves, just the player you're getting, not who you gave up. Astros needed another starter. Kikuchi is battle tested. Is a very solid veteran. Yes, he hasn't pitched the greatest in the first half, but is due for some positive regression. And I think that he is going to end up being a very solid piece for this Astros team. And now you have a playoff rotation of Framber Valdez, Justin Verlander, Yusei Kikuchi, Ronald Blanco. I think that's really solid. You have Hunter Brown in there as well, who I just forgot. So that's 5 very good starting pitchers. So, I mean, with this lineup as it is, I don't think that's they're a team to take lightly anymore for the Astros. They're going for it. Yes, they gave up a lot. I think it was an insane price. They're probably going to regret it in the next 2 to 3 years. They don't win the World Series, but they could. And if you do, all that goes away. But still, Loperfido, Wagner, and Blas, I think will all be impact major league players. So trading them all for a year, for a few months of Yusei Kikuchi, who hasn't had the greatest season, I think is a little bit of an L there. For the Orioles, I like the Trevor Rogers trade. You now have a ton of controllable starting pitchers. I mean, going into next year, you now have Grayson Rodriguez, Zach Eflin, and Trevor Rogers as your 2, 3, and 4. Hopefully you keep Corbin Burns as your ace, and then you have a top 4 that is absolutely fantastic for the upcoming future. Rogers hasn't had the greatest season with Miami, but has done much better recently, and still has a lot of potential in an arm. I mean, he was an all-star in his rookie year, so if any organization can get the all-star part out of him, it is the Orioles. So I do like the trade. I like the trade more. As much as Norby and Stowers, I think, was an insane price to pay, I think that both of them were going to be blocked. And if you like Trevor Rogers this much, go ahead and get him and outbid people in a price that he can't even comprehend that you would think they would have to give up to Trevor Rogers. Overall, Miami has done absolutely fantastic this deadline right now. I mean, I love what they got back for A.J. Puck. They're apparently going to get back a ton for Tanner Scott whenever he is moved. I think that could be something that happens relatively soon. I love that they're getting back Norby and Stowers. I think both could be big parts of their team in the upcoming future. And Toronto, I love what they did here as well. I still think they should go into a full rebuild, but now you can plug and Blas your rotation for next year if you want to compete. Loperfido can maybe be your starting first baseman or corner outfitter or DH. You also then... I think that Will Wagner also could be a nice bench piece or a platoon bat next year as well. Of course, the son of Hall of Famer hopefully soon future Hall of Famer Billy Wagner. So I like the trades for both Miami and Toronto. I think they did absolutely fantastic with these packages, and they took advantage of the seller's market and did a really, really good job. So props to them. So that is our second segment here, talking about Yusei Kikuchi to Houston and Trevor Rogers to Baltimore. Going into our third segment here, which is going to be talking about Lane Thomas and his trade to Cleveland. So we'll be going over that, and we'll see you after the break. So thanks, and bye.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily